Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're ready and set to go. Alright, happy Tuesday, everybody. Good evening from everyone around the world. Welcome back to Prospects eRacing League, here for the PlayStation Division Tier 2, Round 5 at the Spanish Grand Prix. And I know what you're thinking, guys. Is that the same voice from 2 weeks ago? Yes, it is. I am now back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your commentator, Just Gaming, and I'm actually here with Chappers. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing really well. Really great to be here once again, and I'm looking forward to seeing what these tier 2 guys can put on what they can do to put on a good show for us.
Well, all of these drivers, no matter what they do on the track, they always like to give us a good show back in the comments box, and for everyone back at home. So again, big shout out to everyone that is attending. We currently have a few people making their way in, and honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I am so excited to be back. I had honestly one of the worst weeks of my life, and honestly, it is good to be back here doing commentary for you guys. And thank you guys again for welcoming me back. But no tears in the chat. Let's get this show on the road. And actually, one person that actually suggested you, Chappers, Mondi, is actually in the chat. The first one coming in. Evening, gentlemen. How are you doing? But Chappers, we're here at the Spanish Grand Prix here at Barcelona, Catalunya. What is your opinion about this track, actually?
I actually do really like this track. I've known it from when I used to race on the GP game, so I can pretty much do the track blind. But overall, for the F1 cars, I like it a little bit more than when I used to race on the bikes. It's very flowing, I feel. The last section I do struggle with a little bit, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid track, and there's a lot of places here where you can overtake, in my opinion. So it's a good track, and it makes up for good racing.
Well, we are very excited, honestly. I cannot wait to get this show on the road. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, as always here in Prospects, we will start with a short qualifying session and 33 laps where we find ourselves here tonight. And of course, this actually gives us a bit of leeway, as this is actually we actually had the real life Spanish Grand Prix actually on Sunday for the real life Formula 1. And I'm actually very excited. We actually have a few people coming in. Aiden Clarence, this isn't Tier 2. This is actually Tier 2. Aiden, welcome, my man. Welcome to Tier 2 for the PlayStation Division. Mondi's doing his homework for tomorrow. There you go. And Chaos Druid, man, I haven't seen that name in a long time. How you doing, my man? But as we give ourselves a little bit of a brief description of the Spanish Grand Prix here, ladies and gentlemen, at the Formula 1 Pirelli Gran Premio de España 2022 for Prospects eRacing League here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, where this track has actually been a newer track added to the Formula 1 calendar, where it actually was actually at the 1991 Grand Prix, and it was actually built as part of the 1992 Barcelona Olympics development program. The foundation stone was laid in 1989, while the first car race was actually in the round of 1991 Spanish Touring Car Championship. But this track, as Chapper said earlier, covers the whole spectrum of motorsports in the world, from Formula 1 to MotoGP to touring cars to even funny cars I've actually seen over here. Those like kind of monster truck-esque vehicles. I kind of forget the name of it. I think it's called Funny Truck. I could be wrong, as I usually am. But yeah, we're looking at a circuit length of around 4.675 kilometers long. We're looking at around a race distance of 154.2 kilometers. So it's going to be tough for these drivers out here. But of course, everyone is going to be trying to beat the current lap record by Max Verstappen back in 2021 with a 118.149. That is going to be the stone mark. That's going to be the setting stone to see where these drivers line up compared to that time in the qualifying session. But yeah, I've been rambling on for a little bit. Chappers, like you said that you've done MotoGP at the Spanish Grand Prix. What would you say is the most difficult parts of the track?
Personally, I would say it's definitely the middle section, because it's very tight and twisty and it's hard braking. So on the bikes especially, it's very easy to tuck the front when you're league racing on MotoGP, because you're having to kind of, when you're pushing in the race and pushing for a quali lap, it's so easy to tuck that front. So I would definitely say the middle part of the track is certainly the most difficult, and also turn one, because if you're on a hot lap, you brake a bit later into turn one, and if you brake too hard, the back wheel's gonna come up, and then it's just gonna unsettle the bike, and you're gonna run on. So for a quality lap, if you can kind of nail that first sector and that first second sector, then the last two for the bikes, so there's four sectors for MotoGP. If you can nail the first two, you're normally pretty set for a good lap. If you can just completely nail the last couple of sectors, but definitely the first sector and the second sector, the middle part of the track, is the hardest for the bikes. But I'm unsure what it would be for the cars, really, because it's a whole mix of different things, and you can lock up pretty much in any braking zone at this track, pretty much in the F1 cars. So I would say maybe the last sector for F1 is the hardest because of those sausage curbs on this game. It can spin you out, as we saw with Charles Leclerc on the weekend in qualifying.
Yep.
It happened to him on those curbs.
Well, a lot of stuff has actually happened to Charles Leclerc, and that's actually a good leeway about the Spanish Grand Prix. So, of course, ladies and gentlemen, Spanish Grand Prix actually has had a lot of historic moments in the Formula One season, where we actually saw multiple people get their maiden wins. Max Verstappen, current drivers champion, previous drivers champion, getting his maiden win here at the Spanish Grand Prix, and a lot of upset as well has happened in the recent of years. If you guys did miss it on Sunday, sorry, spoilers. But Charles Leclerc has actually had a mechanical failure with his car. As he was leading about 10 seconds from second place, and unfortunately had to retire the car into the pit lane. We also saw the drastic teammate crash in 2016 by Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg on lap 1 as well. And I think we could be seeing something kind of like that in this race, but especially difficult parts of the track as well. We have turn 1, where especially at the beginning of the race, everyone wants to make that move, and actually, as we saw in the race as well, actually, chappers, on Sunday, we saw Kevin Magnussen and Lewis Hamilton actually have themselves a little bit of a collision on turn 4 in that uphill right-hander, where Kevin Magnussen actually got off onto the gravel area, and Lewis Hamilton actually hit with a front left puncture due to that collision. So,
yeah,
yep.
It was certainly an interesting one. I'm not, Lewis Hamilton's not my favourite driver, but I do feel that it was definitely more of a K-Mag's fault there. But I know some people would disagree with that, but it was definitely two parts to play in that. But I think the majority of that incident was K-Mag's fault, but that's my opinion. I'm sure proper Verstappen fans out there will disagree with me there, but that's just my opinion. But it's, that sort of incident can happen in this race as well. Two drivers can collide and someone can get wing damage. A puncture is a very unlikely for virtual racing, but it happens.
Exactly, but a lot of stuff happened in racing. We don't have it intentionally, because not every race, like not any of the races are scripted. We will just be watching a movie by then. But I'm looking at in the chat, so we got a few more people coming in. T Mouse is in the chat as well. He's excited to get this going. Artistic Genius as well in the chat. Mondi, actually a fun fact. I was actually talking about fun facts as well. Mondi's saying Schumacher also got his maiden win here in Ferrari back in 1996 as well. And honestly, this track is having a lot of historic moments. But we're now looking on board with the current Drivers' Championship leader of Drunk Pirate in the Ferraris. And if you were here last season, chappers, of course, you're kind of new to the commentary team. Last season, Ferrari was actually one of the worst performing teams across the board in all of the divisions in the PlayStation League. And now we're actually seeing a Ferrari of Drunk Pirate, who was actually in the McLaren last season, move to the Ferrari, and is actually leading the championship. So just like in real life, in Prospect Racing League, Ferrari is having a huge resurgence into the league, and I think is going to be a very, very good turnout for them, especially with that man behind the wheel.
For sure. He has been looking pretty strong, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what he's gonna do for us today. So let's
Well,
It
a
was
fun
tough.
fact actually, I was actually doing commentary a few hours ago, in a different league, and Drunk Pyre was actually, we were actually racing at Singapore, and he actually got the race win at the end of that. So let's see if Drunk Pyre had a little bit more pressure on him. Let's see if he can get back-to-back wins here tonight, and I think it'll be one of his greatest days of all time. But I'm looking at the chat as well. Justin, remember Curse of Ferrari? Yeah, I was actually just saying that, Chaos Druid. I was just saying that. Um, it was very tough for the Ferrari drivers, but now we're seeing a huge resurgence in Tier 2. I don't know what it is in Tier 1 and Tier 3 as of yet. And yep, and Monty is saying and in Tier 3 too. Ferrari is doing well in Tier 3. Craigie as well in the chat. Yeah, boys, let's smash a Ferrari T2 versus Red Bull of T3. So it's going to be tough, but of course, as I said earlier, the fastest lap by Max Verstappen, a 118, is what they're going to be aiming for. I think we could be seeing some 116s potentially here, chappers, as these drivers
Definitely.
really love to put down the grip and use those cars to the absolute like limits on the track.
And also these cars are slightly quicker than the 2022 cars. I believe I saw that the lap times they were doing were about 2.5 to 3 seconds slower than the previous year in 2021 here, so I do feel that we will see some 116s come through in the tier 2 today. I'm expecting probably 17s as well, bankers, and some 18s, but I do think towards the end we will see 16s as there we go. Drunk Pirate comes in with a 117.505, so that's a good little banker lap for him to set the pace for the rest of the field, as the other drivers will come through now who are finishing their quali laps, well, their first quali laps.
Well, the next one to cross the line is going to be Bevo, and it looks like a bit of a different strategy for quite a few of these drivers actually. Everyone actually out there on the set of softs. We actually have 4 drivers on the set of mediums. Patty Pat being one of them, Matty D as well as Bevo and Denmark. So a lot of mixed strategies on the field, and with you, Chappers, as you've done MotoGP and now doing Formula One. What would you say would be the best strategy when it comes down to the tires? What would be the best pit strategy for all these drivers on the track?
Personally, I would say a 2-stop is definitely the way to go to play it safe. I raced here a couple of weeks ago actually, and I ended up having to 1-stop it because I had the position and I had a gap to delete the guys behind me, so I ended up 1-stopping it, but it wasn't pleasant. It really wasn't. It was awful towards the end. The tires felt horrendous, so I do feel that the best strategy for these guys will be to do a 2-stop, maybe soft, medium, or soft, maybe a soft, whatever. They can do a 3-stop on 2 softs maybe if they're good on tires. But I believe I was gonna do a soft, medium, and I do feel that will be the best strat for these guys, in my opinion. Or for instance, if somebody's outside the top 10, we could see a medium, soft potentially, and that can
Well,
give
let's see.
those guys at the back a
Well, let's
fast
see
lap
how
towards
these
the end.
drivers
They
do,
don't
man.
crash softs.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I
it's gonna
cannot.
be an interesting one.
It's going to be a very interesting one. I can definitely agree with you on that. Jonesy actually crossed the line we just missed out on. He's the first person to break into the 116s, breaking through the 117 second barrier with a 116.862. And actually, one thing about this guy. Oh, actually, as breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, Sufyan has just been disqualified, as he has spun around and has been parked in a dangerous position. He'll be starting in the last row, the 10th row in 19th. But a fun fact actually about this track, ladies and gentlemen, we've actually, how it is in the game currently is actually different how the layout is in real life. The only change that's happened at this track was actually, if I can find someone that's going across there now, we'll go and run the Red Bulls as they're making the way over now. Currently on board with David Boyer. Turn 10 and turn 11 at the end of the first DRS zone. It's, instead of it actually being a tough left-hander hairpin to even tougher elevation change left-hander of turn 11, it's actually that long sweeping outer road, as we do see David Boyer actually presenting us why that was actually changed. That quick elevation change can really mess up these cars, not just by the chassis, the suspension, but also with the tires, as the drivers try to act accordingly to what's it called, to save and counter steer the effects of that what's it called, the elevation change, as David Boyer crosses the line with a 118.793. um it makes it a little bit easier on the car as well, and especially with like you said, with Formula One. They actually kind of changed it compared to MotoGP, where Formula One, it was actually used to be a lot dangerous back in the 1990s, and even now they're still doing that process of just trying to make it safe when it comes to like the new track regulations. The biggest change that we saw in the season was actually at Australia, where we saw the huge change in Sector 2. Of course, they still had the chicane of death, I like to call it, but yeah, a lot of tracks actually making a lot of changes over the seasons, like Barcelona, where we are here today. Australia, like I said, there was Spa-Francorchamps, and Belgium was changing the entrance of El Rouge. There was also Abu Dhabi that was changed last season, made it a whole lot better in my opinion. Would you say, Chappers?
I would totally agree for sure. It's made it. I think it will make for better racing, especially as you said with Abu Dhabi with the change there. Um, and I think it will make better racing on here as well. Virtually, it'll make a
Oh,
lot of
it
difference on
definitely
the field.
should.
So.
I think it definitely should. It'll make it a lot easier for the drivers out there as well. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, actually we just saw David Boyer improve by a second and a tenth, I do believe, up to a 117.495. Just misses out on third position by around, what is that, 8 thousandths of a second. So very very close times here, ladies and gentlemen. As always, doesn't lack in what am I trying to say? Doesn't
I
fail
have no
to
idea.
impress. That's what I was trying to say. Doesn't fail to impress by how close the times are. And you can actually just see, look at from Jonesy all the way down to T-Mouse, from first to ninth by just over a second. And that is close, close times. And we still have almost half of the grid still yet to put in their lap times as well.
Yep. I think last week as well. One of the tiers that I was commentating on last week, I believe it might have been tier 2 as well. I was here for last week, or tier 3, and I think whole like the top 15 was separated by a whole second at Brazil, which is just insane. It was really really close in qualifying last week for the all tiers, I believe. So I'm sure we'll see a repeat of that this week as well here at Catalunya. And I think towards the end, times will start to get a bit closer, and people will start to challenge Jonesy in first.
Well, I want to actually ask you this as well. When with this straight actually being a little bit longer than some of the generic tracks, this finishing straight from turn 16 to turn 1, especially when you start off the race, would you prefer to be in first on the outside or second on the inside?
Personally, I would say first on the outside, because then if you're on the outside into turn 1, you have the inside line at turn 2, and if you get a decent launch, you have that advantage there being on the outside of turn 1, being able to turn in onto the inside of turn 2, and they will have to back off if you're slightly ahead of them on the outside. But I do feel definitely being on the outside here is more beneficial than being on the inside, because you can get squeezed on the inside of turn 1, and then that's kind of jeopardize your race, and that can be ruined by turn 1. So I'd
Exactly,
say
but
definitely being on the outside.
I think this could be a very good lap here, actually, Chappers. Thank you for that. Actually, Lucifer and Drunk Pirate, actually, both of the Ferraris actually working very well together, as Lucifer was actually hit with a huge boost of slipstream down towards turn 1, and we're actually going to stay on board with them, as this could be a potential good lap with that aid of slipstream. And you can actually see, like, actually, we'll ask you this, actually, Chappers.
Hmm.
With you actually coming into Formula One with the like commentary with esports leagues, what would you say most impresses you compared to MotoGP?
Personally, I would say kind of the focus that these drivers have to have, because normally for MotoGP League racing, the length of the races are normally about a 25% distance of Formula One. A full race distance for MotoGP League racing is about 45 minutes. So and obviously you don't have to kind of think about pitting, because you can't do it really, otherwise it'll, unless it's like a flag to flag, which isn't implemented into those games yet. So I do feel that the mindset you've got to have for F1 League racing is definitely what impresses me the most, because I'm still kind of learning kind of the best strategy to use when different things happen in the race. So the guys that have been doing this for years kind of can just click and know exactly what they're doing. Definitely impresses me the most, because it's also like a mind game with F1 as well, with strategies. You'll just both different teams will just bounce off each other and their strategies. So that's kind of what impresses me the most, in my opinion.
Well, one thing that has just impressed me as well, Patty Pat with an extraordinary time here of a 116.573. Did an exceptional job here, and it just shows that the amount of pace that these drivers will have as the clock actually starts to tick down to the 3 zeros. Of course, with qualifying, as time goes on, there's going to be a little bit more rubber on the track, going to give these drivers a little bit more grip, and we're going to be seeing faster and faster and faster times. Patty Pat utilizing all of that extra bit of rubber on the track as he gets himself a 116.573, and you know he's going to be ecstatic after having that line there. But of course, still plenty of time in qualifying to see if anyone else would make their way up to the podium. What's called kind of like I like to call it the podium of race starts. But of course, the main aim is to get that pole position. But we still have one more person still yet to make a time, and that's going to be Tintorero, as he's making his way around turn 9. And I want to ask you this actually, Chappers,
Yep.
with MotoGP actually,
Yep.
one of the biggest champions at the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix was actually by the Spaniard of Jorge Lorenzo. Just so I can get a little bit more a little bit more information about this, is he actually one of the greatest MotoGP riders out there, or is this just he's just know this track for all his life as he is Spaniard?
Well, I mean, he has won the MotoGP title in 2010, 2012, and 2015. So he's a three-time MotoGP champion, and he's won the previous. I believe he won in 150, in the 125s and the 250s. So I think he is a five-time world champion. So he's certainly up there, and I believe he has just been put into the MotoGP Legends just recently. He did retire in 2020, so I believe it was. So I would say he's definitely one of the greatest, because he has just been put into the Legends category, but he's certainly not the best, I will say that, because there is a few riders out there that are certainly better and have done more, but he had
Well,
a
there we
famous
go.
battle here in 2009 with Valentino Rossi, which was an insane battle. I remember watching that on TV. Actually, both my parents were there for that race. They were out there for that weekend. The atmosphere was crazy there, apparently, and he unfortunately did lose out to Valentino there on the last corner of the last lap. So
Well, one person that has just missed out as well, Tintorero, just gets himself on the front row, but just gets purple sector 2 and purple sector 3, so just missed the pace in purple sector in sector 1, and Patty Pat now going back out there on an outlap as well, directly ahead of him as well. So this is gonna be tough for Tintorero and Patty Pat, because Tintorero is really feeling out this track, really finding the pace in all of these corners. We're actually gonna go on board with Drunk Pirate, currently leading the Drivers' Championship in Tier 2 PlayStation. And I think he's going to be on a roll here. He's done a lot of work behind the scenes, and I know this completely. I've known the guy for so long now. He has done so much practice by the amount of racing that he does, and also just having that mentality after coming from a race like Singapore, which is actually seriously like challenges you both mentally and for the drivers out there in real life physically. It just shows just how much of a different level, in my opinion, Drunk Pirate is to a lot of drivers. Me, like, that could be biased because I love the guy, but I just think right there that just shows how much dedication this man has to put himself on the track and always try to come out on top.
Also, just watching Crew here. Currently quite a bit off the pace here, but I'm gonna see his sector times. Maybe I reckon what he's 5.8 seconds off. What I think he's done, he's currently on a lap. But I think what he's done, he hasn't validated, but maybe he's kind of done his outlap. He'll then do another outlap, and then do a flying lap. That's what I think he might be doing here. So the car's super light because there is only a minute to go. So maybe that's what he's doing. Because then he doesn't have to worry about going into low fuel mode.
Well, this is his last chance, his last opportunity
Yeah.
to get up on the grid, as we have under a minute left of qualifying here, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone is out there on their soft set of tires, so everyone is going to give it their all until the end. Tintoretto actually retires into the pit lane satisfied with a 116.654, and that's a very good time and a very good position to kick him off at the race start. Crew Steamer is actually improving by a tenth coming into Sector 2 as we're currently on board with him. A few drivers crossing the line now as T-Mouse has retired into the pit lane as well, satisfied with his 117.162. And we actually have a spin up the field, and I think, Drunk Pirate, as I was saying, my main man out there with a 116.393 takes pole position for the time being. Of course, that can change in any second now, as we do see. Actually, Jonesy has invalidated, so he's not going to try and battle it out. Patty Pat is currently out there, so we're going to keep an eye on Patty Pat, as he is currently down by 93 thousandths of a second coming into Sector 2. He needs to improve by just 2/10, and he will have pole position. He's taking a little bit of a wider line here into these corners. I think he's struggling a little bit with the traction on those few lap old set of softs. But a lot of these drivers giving it their all. I believe it was just Coconuts who actually had himself a little bit of a spin. David Boyer. A lot of the drivers satisfied with their times as qualifying is ending. But now Patty Pat, can he make his way into the front row at least? Needs to improve by a tenth, and he will be right next to Drunk Pirate. And of course, these two were actually teammates, I believe. Were they teammates last season? I
I'm
think.
unsure because I'm fairly new, but here comes Patty Pat now across the line. He was 0.1 over his time, and he has improved massively in the last sector, which has bumped him up to P2. He was 0.1 over his time, as I said, coming into the final sector, so he absolutely nailed that last sector, and it did seem like it when I was on board with him. So that's a solid qualifying for Patty Pat there, and I think that will be the grid because everybody's finished. So
Yeah, that's gonna be it. That is going to be it. In the dire moments of qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, Patty Pat makes his way onto the front row with Drunk Pirate getting his pole position that he truly desired, letting the Williams driver through. I think that's Williams. Yep, that's Williams driver through, as he's going to be taking himself a little bit of a victory entrance into Parc Ferme for that beautiful qualifying, as he gets... just like in real life, Ferrari in pole position. Now let's see if he will be able to hold on to that lead until the end. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to round up qualifying. And that was an amazing qualifying session, chappers. A lot of close times, as you can see on the field. And it's going to be a good one. This just gives me a lot more like excitement for the race start. And I just cannot wait to see what happens in turn 1.
Me too. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be one heck of a race, and I'm also quite impressed by AFS Natty. I've just noticed in 7th, in tier 2 now, and he's got himself inside that top 8 for qualifying.
Yep, of course, being tier 3's drivers champion, getting that promotion up to Division 2, and he's actually taking the toll himself that he is in the right division for him. Just misses out by Denmark by 0.02 of a second, but it's going to be the front row with Drunk Pirate and Patty Pat as we take the rundown. Jonesy and Tintoretto makes up that second row with Pigman Man, Denmark, Natty, Lucifer Shahid, Just Coconuts, and Bevo. They'll be all starting on the set of softs. And then the rest of the grid: Team Else, David Boyer, Matty D13, Cavalis, Harris, Shane MC, Cruise Steamers, Dylan, Pelowski, and at the back, Suffian being disqualified for being parked in a dangerous position. That's going to round up qualifying, and we're going to be right back for the race start. But of course, we'll have the formation lap, so don't go anywhere. And actually, as we take this time, I want to remind you guys that if you guys are enjoying the content, please hit the like button. I want to know if you guys are enjoying it, and make sure you hit that subscribe button so we can get our numbers up. And if you guys are enjoying it, you see stuff coming back from time to time, please hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we go live here for Prospects, as we have races from Mondays to Fridays. And actually, no one is going to be starting on the set of softs, as it is a wet weather race here tonight. And it's been a while since we've seen a real life wet race as well. Let's see. Of course, I believe the last time we actually saw a wet race, the very historic oh my God, my R's and W's, wet race. Schumacher actually shines in the wet in 1996 in his maiden win as well, where we saw Michael Schumacher actually get his maiden win with the hectic race. Saw plenty of cars slide off the track, including pole sitter Damon Hill, where Schumacher snatched the lead from Hill's teammate Jacques Villeneuve, and proceeded to set lap times 3 seconds faster than any other driver. He eventually won the race by over 45 seconds from Jean Alesi to take his first victory for Ferrari as well. And I think we could be seeing history recreate itself as we see a Ferrari in pole position here, chappers.
Yeah, we could indeed. This weather has changed pretty much everything for this race here, and we could ask the drivers here. I don't know whether it is a fully wet race or if the rain will stop midway through. I need to see if one of the drivers can give us that information on the formation lap, or whenever they can, if it's possible for them to do so. But yeah, it's with the Ferrari out in front, this could be a recreation of the past.
Well, let's see if we'll see that. I also just saw Mondi was saying goodbye to all of us. Goodbye, Mondi. Have a good one. Thanks again for getting us two in the comms box. Really do appreciate you. We actually see a bunch of the chat actually going ham, actually, as the wet weather surprised a lot of them. Chaos Druid as well. We actually saw Paige Baguette, of course, Paige actually being a tier 3 driver, so good to see her in the chat as well. We got Mr. Basil and well, one of our own in here, actually, Chapper's in the chat. But let's see, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're just seconds underway before the race start. So, Chappers, I'm gonna leave it with you actually to get the race start for us, as I did the grid rundown.
No problem at all. So the drivers have said that it's 15 minutes of rain and then it goes to dry, so this will change it quite a lot, I believe. So let's see what happens here as the drivers do form up now. I believe the 20th position has just got to the back of the grid, so very soon we'll be getting underway.
Here we go.
So, 1 light, 2 light, 3 light, 4 light, 5 light, and off we go for round 5 of Tier 2 at Spain. It's a good start actually from Drunk Pirate there, as he pulls a bit of a gap there on Paddy Pat, who also gets a great start until went into the wall. That's a humongous crash. Oh my god, what happened there?
I saw what happened. Him and Jonesy actually had themselves a little bit of a collision down the straight. Tintorero was actually moving a little bit left to try to go around the outside, trying to go on the racing line, but forgot that Jonesy was there. They make a collision. Tintorero actually having a huge collision And now completely out of this race. Versus, it looks like the marshals are going to be able to get the cars out of the way now. But sorry to cut you off there, as we actually have a huge collision coming down towards turn 5.
We do. I didn't see that either. I was on board at the front too, but that was a humongous crash at the start. That Tintoretto's going to be absolutely fuming. It's super unfortunate. I had a similar situation happen with me at a previous round a few months ago. Luckily, I managed to survive, but totally wasn't my fault. But yeah, that happens
Oh,
here, unfortunately, in any track. As
well, I
well
actually
as a bad
just
time to
saw a
race in
good battle
conditions.
actually between Pigman Man and Jonesy coming up towards turn 10. Pigman Man dives onto the inside. Jonesy tries to break a little bit later to go around the outside. Actually ran onto the runoff area, the little flat green spots on the runoff area where you can barely get any sort of grip. He now falls down to P4, Pigman Man on P3. But coming to the end of lap 1, it's going to be Drunk Pirate leading their way ahead of Patty Pat by just under a second. And you can actually see T-Mouse actually going into the pit lane as well. When I was saying a collision down towards turn 5, it was him, I believe David Boyer as well, and I believe it was an Aston Martin, I believe it was Natty. Well, no, T-Mouse was the Aston Martin. Sorry. There was a bit of a collision as they were going 3 wide into turn 5. T-Mouse just mistimes the braking zone, goes into the back of a car, loses his end plate. Gonna have to go into the pit lane. We also see Dylan and Polowski near the back going side to side around turn 4. Down towards turn 5. Dylan dives on the inside again, but Polowski with the beautiful grip on the exit there. Sufjan right behind them has a little bit of a hiccup as Polowski holds on to P16. A good start so far for everyone except for T-Mouse and Tintoretto. So very unfortunate to see that there. But Bevo now right on the tail end of Just Coconuts as well, being our weatherman actually, who gave us the news about the wet weather, and 15 minutes until dry. Was that right actually?
Yes, it was. It's they said 15 minutes, and then we go to dry conditions.
So now with the drivers now knowing that it will start to come dry later on in the race, what would you say would be the best strategy at this point?
Personally, I would say if the rain is a bit delayed with the track is a bit delayed with drying, I would say probably they could try and jump onto the mediums because it's likely they'll be able to make it to the end of the race. But it all really depends on when this track dries because it's still spitting, so it doesn't look like it's going to dry anytime soon.
Oh, and I'm
Um,
actually just looking at, we just missed it until the end, but Pavlovsky, from what I just saw, has pulled a double overtake down towards turn 1, getting past Shane MC and Crew Steamers, who are actually both admins here at Prospect Z Racing League. And Pavlovsky's just really taking the toll on them as he makes his way up to P14. But now look at the lead of Drunk Pirate as Patty Pat is starting to lose a little bit of pace here. Drunk Pirate is leading by 2.5 seconds, and it's only the 3rd lap. So Drunk Pirate is just doing an exceptional job as we have a spin on the field, and it's going to be Cavalis as he has lost his front wing, gone into the wall on turn 7 and 8, and that was actually one of the toughest parts of the track with that quick elevation change, just like turn 11. Actually going back on the grid here, ladies and gentlemen. Denmark actually back up the front. He's actually looking right on the tail end of Jones. He didn't really get the best line that he would want. And that's going to be giving Lucifer Shahid the opportunity to make his way up to P5. Of course, lap 3, we just finished it. No DRS in this race until it starts to dry. But so far, Chappers, it's been an extraordinary race so far.
I totally agree with you. It's been pretty action-packed already. Fortunate incident on the straight at the start of the race for Tintoretto there. You know, I'd be absolutely fuming it, but it happens unfortunately. I feel really sorry for him, but other than that, we've seen some pretty good battling. It's only lap 4 or 33, so it's going to make up for a great race, I feel. And with the conditions expected to dry about 15 minutes into this race, it's going to completely change it up, and we could see some drivers who can nail the pit for the dry tyres fly through the field.
Well, one
So
thing we actually just witnessed, Just Coconuts was overtaken by AFS Natty coming up towards turn 5, but was able to pull the switch back at turn 7 and was able to move back up to P7. A beautiful overtake there. But we're actually going to go on board with Jonesy real quick and go into the rear view actually and just see how much of this spray that these drivers are seeing. Of course, the rain is going to be stopping from what we've been told in a few minutes. But still, you can see the amount of spray that these drivers are getting on those visors, getting on that halo, and getting on those tires, and it's going to really mess them up when it comes down to the grip into all of these corners. But we're now going to go up to Pigman Man. He was looking at getting the overtake on Patty Pat, going on the inside to defend Patty Pat, but now Pigman Man around the outside couldn't find the door and couldn't stick his nose in to see if he can get himself past. And now slots down to P3 coming around turn 3, where in the dry conditions we would actually see some drivers go full throttle into a lot of these corners, but of course with these conditions we're not going to be seeing that anytime.
certainly not. It's a bit treacherous out there, and especially to the part of the track now where Patty Pat and Pigman Man are coming up to now. This section, even in the dry, is just torture. So in the wet, it's going to be horrendous, as you see there. Pigman had a little bit of a bobble there, I feel. It looked like the rear stepped out kind of when he hit that curb, so...
Yeah, he had a little bit of a hiccup. He had a little bit of a hiccup,
yeah.
but he's doing an exceptional job, man. He's doing an exceptional job.
Definitely.
But let's see actually, because as time goes on, Drunk Pirate is leading by around 4 seconds. Once it starts to dry and we see the DRS being enabled, we're gonna be seeing everyone shoot themselves into the pit lane, and we're gonna see the a few odd ones actually gonna be trying to prevent a double stack in the pit lane. But you can actually see that the rain is starting to dry up a little bit, and the rain has actually fully stopped at this point. And we can actually start to see the racing line appear through all of those puddles. So now, just give it, I say around lap 8 or lap 10, like around that little gap is where we're going to be seeing everyone complete their pit stops onto a set of slicks, because in Barcelona with this heat here in Spain, it's going to dry up the track as like seriously quick.
I agree. I do feel we'll probably see a mixture of soft and mediums. I'd say majority of people pitting onto mediums, but we'll see what they do. Maybe some will pit for softs and hope for a safety car, maybe. But like you said, I do feel that it'll be maybe lap 9 or lap 10 that we will start to see some people start to pit when that DRS is activated.
You know what I think actually? I think a lot of people, like, we've only had one incident at the beginning of the race with Tintorero. I think some people might actually go with the one-stop strategy and go on a set of hards until the end. I think that's what I think might be some people doing that. Of course, all of the options are on the table. It only comes down to the drivers and their Jeffs to reach out on the table and choose which strategy they want to pick. But yeah, I think the right strategy here would definitely be those set of mediums. Like if I was Drunk Pirate, go on those set of mediums. You know you have the pace on the softs. Like you know that you have the fastest lap.
Similar here. The mediums are quite nice here, in my opinion. They are quite nice. I've noticed as well here. They're really good up until like about 15%. It's weird here. The wear, it can be like 30% and they feel like torture. But what I found when I did my race there a couple of weeks ago, I found that they drop off at like lap 20 to 30%, and then at 30% to 40%, for some strange reason they just find pace again, which is really odd.
Well, I think that's only because if you're around soft runners, because remember, those softs only take like about less than 10 laps of wear before you actually really feel the like the wear on it. And I think that is where those mediums would definitely go on. And I'm actually looking at the chat as well. Basil actually said a one stop on mediums will easily make it to the end.
Yeah, it will do. I did
really?
one stop in the dry hit. When I did my race here a couple of weeks ago, about 2-3 weeks ago now. Or I actually did one stop hit on the mediums because it was more beneficial for me. I had like a 5-second gap to the guys behind me, and I knew that the tyres were wearing about 2 to 3% a lap, and I knew that I could manage them, and I wasn't overly pushing the tyres, and I was like keeping the gap how it was, 4 or 5 seconds. And the last 5 laps, they kind of started to close me in, where they were on fresher mediums to me. And yeah, I managed to bring it home.
Oh,
But I
and one thing
think
I am
the
actually
tyres were
seeing.
like 50% on a one-stop. 50-60% on a one-stop.
But I think one thing I'm seeing,
Mediums.
Dylan is going into the pit lane now to make his pit stop. We actually see Cruise Steamers currently out on a set of mediums. One thing I am noticing, Drunk Pirate is actually having his tires a bit overheating at this point. As when we were going down the finishing straight, he was actually going over the actual like puddles of water to cool down his tires. So I think at this point is going to be starting the time where the drivers will go into the pit lane. Of course, the DRS is not enabled as of yet, but I think it's kind of around that mixed time where both the intermediates and the slicks actually do around the same time. And if that's the case, go on those set of slicks. You know it's going to start to get drier than it is going to get wetter. So use that ERS, get your way, get that in lap perfect. So when you go out on those set of slicks, you get that ERS again. Use all of that ERS on your out lap to ensure no sort of undercuts will occur. And I think that'll be the best plan for all of these drivers right now as time goes on. But so far, 4 drivers the only ones to make that pit stop. 2 of them are on the set of slicks.
I have seen as well that it was Matty has got barely any battery compared to the other drivers. All the others have not been using it. But Matty has used a lot of his battery, so I'm thinking, and she said he may be boxing this lap. Which he is. He's boxing. Matty is boxing for the 6.
Well,
So
Pigman, yep, Pigman, the first one in the top 3, and there it is. DRS has been enabled, and Pigman is actually going on the set of softs. He's going to try and make an undercut on Patty Pat and Drunk Pirate. If that's the case, to get past Patty Pat, he needs to go 2 seconds faster on this outlap than Patty Pat would when he goes into his pit stop. But you can actually see a lot of the drivers starting to make their pit stop now, right around the time, as I said, around between the 8th and 10th lap, and Pigman being ahead of those slick runners on the set of softs. I think he's really going to be making his way ahead of Patty Pat once Patty Pat makes his pit stop, I do believe. But only time will tell.
Yeah, I do feel it's still a little bit treacherous. It doesn't seem like a very big dry line at the moment, but to be fair, those intermediate runners look like they are struggling a little bit now as Pigman's catching up to Shane.
Pigman has spun! Pigman has spun around turn 7 and just could not handle these sort of conditions. Matty D13 going around the outside, and he's able to move up to P11. So now that gives Patty Pat the reassurance, but Patty Pat stays out. Drunk Pirate is going to be going into the pit lane. Same with Jonesy, Denmark, and Just Coconuts, as everyone is going in at this point. Patty Pat is the only intermediate runner left at this point, unless Shane stays out as well. So I think Patty Pat is really... I think Patty Pat did the wrong call here.
Potentially it'll be good to see the difference in pace, definitely through the second sector.
Oh yeah, you can see it right now. You can see it right now. Patty Pat is struggling around these corners as you're not getting as any grip. As you can see, he's fighting against those set of intermediates to find the life in it, as Cruise Steamers has crashed out around turn 9 and 10 on that DRS straight. Catalyst is able to make his way through easily, and this could save Patty Pat if it's a safety car. But it's not actually. It's not a safety car. Is only a yellow flag, and we're seeing Denmark as well as Jones. He goes side to side down towards turn 5 and 6, and Denmark makes his way up to P3, and now Drunk Pirate is within the 22-second mark of Patty Pat. So Drunk Pirate is going to have a huge lead once Patty Pat makes his pit stop, and you can see he's really struggling against these conditions as he now goes into the pit lane and will be coming out on a set of slicks. And you can see that line of wear on those intermediates, almost like what we saw with Lewis Hamilton. What was that track actually last season where it had like that triple apex left-hander? Qatar? Was it Qatar? I think it was Qatar.
Yes, maybe.
Yeah, where they had the intermediate. Like, was it the
Yes, it
intermediates
would
over
have been
there?
Qatar.
It was.
No, that it's Qatar's in like it's in the Middle East, so it never rains there.
Then what am I? Then what track am I thinking of that has like a Turkey? Thank you, Chaos. Turkey. It was Turkey where they had like the wet race, and we saw Lewis Hamilton's tires come like intermediates look like slicks. And I think
Yeah,
that's what happened with Paddy Pat here, as he now finds himself behind Jonesy and Denmark for P4, so lost 2 positions due to staying out an extra lap than intended. So now he has some grounds to make up because of that error. Yeah, intersofts, said Craigie. They're practically intersofts.
pretty much. Yeah.
But now,
It would never rain at Qatar because Qatar is it's essentially in the desert,
yeah,
so
for some
they
reason I
never
was
have
thinking of
rain.
the puncture from Pierre Gasly in qualifying for some reason. I had both of those images stuck in my mind. I don't know why. My mind works in weird ways. I can definitely tell you
I'm
that.
actually really looking forward to seeing them return to Qatar in 2023. I believe they've done what, a 10-year contract there?
I
I
believe
believe
so,
it
actually.
was.
Yeah,
I believe it was a
a lot of these
10-year
tracks are
contract.
renewing contracts, but you gotta say, what a lead for Drunk Pirate. What a good strategy that he has had here tonight, and he is leading by flying colors, really proving the Ferraris to be back on top, just like in real life. Except for this track where we saw Max Verstappen actually take the lead of the Drivers' Championship.
We did, and also I've noticed as well, Denmark is not gaining on Drunk Pirate here on
And
the set
he's
of
on the set of
softs,
softs,
so
yeah. And like that's the
that's
one thing I kind of compare Barcelona with. It's Circuit Paul Ricard in France, where both the softs and the mediums practically do around the same sort of pace, and the softs not really having a huge like a huge lifespan compared to the mediums. Like at Paul Ricard, those softs in these sort of conditions, like a 50% race, will probably last you around 7 laps, where the mediums will last you like almost 20, and it just shows that like that's just how I compare it. To be honest with you, I think that's like the closest track that I can compare it to when it comes to the tire wear.
I've just seen that Mondi's put into the chat that Hungary is negotiating a deal to 2037. That's got to be a joke. That's
I'll
got to be a
quickly,
joke.
I'll quickly look it up actually. So,
That's crazy if
Hungarian
that's true.
Grand Prix negotiation. We have agreed until 2032, and I have confirmed to him that we wanted to extend for another 5 or 10 years. We have the option to continue until 2037, and we will like to continue hosting races at least until that year.
Bloody hell, that's crazy.
That is insane. That is
That's
actually
insane.
insane. But ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't been enjoying this race as much as we are in the comms box, and if you guys are interested in watching the race next year, actually, it'll probably be around this time next year. But well, actually no, the Spanish Grand Prix. Yeah, about around this time next year. And if you guys are wondering why you should actually go, um, like to be honest with you, like it's a bit different because there's actually technically two Spanish Grand Prix tracks, where we have this one at Barcelona Catalunya, but also the predecessor of the Valencia circuit, where they actually had that like before the Barcelona Catalunya circuit. But if you are interested in joining, you don't need to be honest with you. You don't even need to tell us that Barcelona is one of the greatest cities in Spain. Even when it comes to food, culture, beaches, especially property attractive proportions as well. Like the properties in Spain, especially the views that you can get, especially in Barcelona, oof, outstanding. And,
Oh,
and even if you're a football fan as well, I like if you're American soccer, but football fan, of course Barcelona being one of the biggest what's it called, biggest teams in the world, right next to well, in the same country as Real Madrid in Madrid. So it just gives you even more reason to go. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. I was actually at Catalonia in 2011, I believe, or 2010
Oh,
for the
really?
GP. Yeah, I was at Catalonia in 2010 or 2011 for the GP, and I don't I vividly remember Barcelona, but it was a from what I remember, it was a beautiful city. But also just to point out now for this race, Jonesy in third is now within DRS of Denmark in second, so we could see Jonesy potentially overtake Denmark or get right up behind him here going into turn one. He's just made the DRS now.
Yep, he does have the DRS, so he's going to be closing that gap. But you can actually see that Denmark's softs are not lasting as long as he wanted to. Even in this overcast, where the track will be a little bit cooler, it's just the track itself with the amount of elevation changes to the to how much you have to turn that car just to get it around these corners and these sort of speeds. It's just gonna make that rubber just go off that tire like you're melting it at this point. And you can actually already see Denmark already struggling to defend off against Jonesy on his set of mediums. So of course the mediums will start to deteriorate later on, but Denmark definitely will have to make another pit stop in this race if he wants to prevent a puncture.
Oh, for sure, he'll have to box into he'll box into a set of mediums, I believe. It's the most safest option because these softs will not last more than 8 laps, 9 laps. No way, in my opinion. He will have to box probably lap 19 at latest, because Drunk Pirate is just gapping him at the moment.
Yep, and there's actually a lot of battles over the field. So we have a battle for second with Jonesy and Denmark, and you can actually compare the two laps. Jonesy has actually gone faster by half a second compared to Denmark, and now with the DRS, the slipstream, and a little bit of ERS, he's able to make the move down towards turn 1, and now this is where Denmark really needs to use Jonesy's DRS to help him stay the pace, because at this point, his softs, he's not going to be looking at getting these sort of pace this pace on the tires that he's on, but instead of using the drivers around him to aid him with that. But we also see a battle with Pulowski and Shane MC, where Shane actually uses the DRS to move up to P14. We also have a three-way battle between Lucifer Shahid, David Boyer, who is right on the tail end of Bevo, as well as Matty D13 just ahead of him, right behind Natty in 6th. So there's a lot of battles over the field. We're going to try our best to cover them all. But ladies and gentlemen, we're coming around to the halfway point of this race, and it's just been absolutely extraordinary to see all of these drivers give it their all, fight against the G-forces in those cars, fight against all of the terrain. We had a wet race start if you're just queuing in, and now it comes down to dry, and it looks like it's going to be staying like this for the rest of the race, but of course anything can happen, and you just gotta appreciate and admire all of these drivers out here on the track.
Certainly, and I just saw Natty made a bit of a mistake. He ran wide in one of the corners, and that's brought Matty right up behind him now. So I think Matty is going to get the run on him here.
The only thing is, I don't think so, because Natty's actually saved up a lot of his ERS. Matty has barely anything left in the tank, and it just shows right there. Natty now in 6th place still holds on to the lead of that battle. Now coming around turn 3, where we saw the dreaded Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton incident. Now Matty D's looking on the inside here, down towards turn 4. The later braking of Natty could help him out here, but Matty D13 looking now around the outside here of turn 5, trying to get that extra momentum. Couldn't really find the pace. Or does he actually? Natty is on the inside here, and he closes the door. Natty holds on to that 6th place position. And all of these drivers, now that is a good battle here. That is a seriously good battle as they give it their all, but Matty D13 will have the DRS here. Natty is still holding on the inside towards turn 10, now up the hill towards turn 11. You can see Bevo is actually staying a little bit more patient as they make contact through there. Bevo's trying to stick his nose in as they make their way through. Natty around the outside, Matty on the inside towards this corner here of turn 13, now 14, and Matty moves up to P6, but it could be short-lived as Natty will now be having DRS once again, and he has saved all of his ERS, and you can see the blinking red lights of Matty D13. Natty will move back up to 6th, and that is just good strategy play there from Natty to battle out with Matty D13, give him in a tough position to then go back at him on turn 16, down to DRS straight, down towards turn 1, and take back the position. Good strategy, and Matty D fell for it completely.
He did, and then also there was a little bit of contact there. Bevo hit the back of the Alpha Tauri driver. I think it was just a bit of the commotion up ahead of him.
Oh,
But
Drunk
luckily he
Pirate!
didn't get
Drunk
damaged.
Pirate has spun! Drunk Pirate has spun around turn 7 and 8, and he now lost his left end plate, so it's going to be a recreation of the real life Formula 1 scene. Instead of a mechanical failure, it's a mix up, it's a mistake by Drunk Pirate, as he will now have to go into the pit lane for a new set of tires, and that has really messed up his lead here, and Jonesy is now going to be leading this race with Denmark in second and Patty Pat in third. Huge upset there for Drunk Pirate.
For sure, that's could be his
Oh, and
race.
we have a crash. We have a crash of C.
Oh,
Harris, and that's a safety car. So that's actually helped what's it called, Drunk Pirate a
Drunk
little bit
Pirate.
actually.
Drunk
Wait,
Pirate
Drunk
stayed
Pirate
out.
stayed out.
I
Wait,
don't think
did he
he's got
not have?
damage.
Yeah, I thought he got
On
damaged.
my
Did he
screen,
not?
on my screen, he doesn't have damage. So.
I thought he had damage. I swore I saw an end plate lost. Am I
I
tripping?
checked on my one. I think you are, because on my screen he's got no end plate damage, which is unless it's like extremely minimal.
It could be extremely minimal, but we just saw the crash of CSB Harris. Got unfortunate around turn 4. Well, not turn 4, turn 3. Just put too much pressure on those set of tires as he goes into the wall. Probably collected a little bit of that runoff green area where you practically have no grip whatsoever. But yep, he is now out of this race. One of 4 drivers to leave, and it's actually both of the Mercedes and both of the Alpines. And that is very unfortunate for them. Let's see how these drivers take this safety car, and it's actually the first safety car of the race, and I'm kind of surprised of that because
Yeah.
there was a lot of close battles, and when it comes to league racing, this is why I believe Prospects is one of the best out there. You actually saw contact between 2 drivers of Natty and Matty D13 earlier. You saw plenty of close battles around the field as well. You actually saw people spin, crash into the wall without actually getting themselves completely gone. But it just shows that all of these drivers here at Prospects, they're practically Prospect esports here. And
Yeah.
it's just these guys are almost on the verge of becoming professional in my opinion, and it just shows that all of these drivers just want to give it their all, want to impress everyone back at home. And yeah, Drunk Pirate actually goes out without a front wing chain, so I guess he didn't have any damage.
He didn't. He must have just had one of those spins where you just somehow missed the wall. So he was quite fortunate in that respect, I feel. When it's that top 5 now have pitted, and 2 of them have gone onto the softs.
Yeah, it looks like a few different strategies as well on the field. One person on the set of Hearts of Cavalis who hasn't really been having the best race that he would want, but I mean, so far, how would you describe this race?
I would definitely say intense would be the word. Lots of battles going on. Very action-packed, which is always great to see. It makes for great entertainment and makes it really great to commentate on, even though it's extremely hard to try and manage watching all these battles and trying to pick one to focus on. But apart from that, it's been a phenomenal race so far, and I think this safety car will change everything, and it will come out, and we've seen now different strategies from certain drivers. Some going onto the softs, thinking that it'll be a few laps before everybody catches up. I don't think it will be this lap. I think next lap that safety car will come in, because a few drivers are still quite far from the pack. So
Yeah, we might be having another lap safety car, or not actually. The safety car
that.
that's a late call, and
Very cool.
I'm actually surprised at that. I thought it was going to be a little bit I thought it was going to be a little bit earlier than that, around turn 10. But the safety car is now coming into this lap.
Yep.
Jonesy will be doing the safety car restart here. I'll leave it with you.
Yep. So here we go then. That is everybody good to go, and we have green flags again. We're ready to go racing against Patty Pat. Weaves a little bit on the straight there, trying to defend from just coconuts in the back there. We'll just try and get a little angle on Denmark there, but as they go into turn 1 now, turn 2, as all the drivers pass Cavalis there, so
Oh! Oh,
fully
Matty
qualified.
D! Matty D has spun around turn 3. He was going side to side with Bevo and just made a hash out of that, contacted with the rubbers as he now spins off around turn 3. Very unfortunate there. Bevo now right on the tail end of AFS Natty as he's trying to find the space to make his way through. But yeah, you gotta say a good start here from Jonesy, almost leading the restart by a second, and he's doing an exceptional job here.
I agree. I do feel even Jonesy being on these mediums, I do feel if he can get away within these first 3 laps and get out of that DRS range, we could see him walk away with this because his pace has seemed pretty good when he overtook Denmark for P2. When Denmark was on the soft, he was actually catching Drunk Pirate. So,
But it's not just that it's not just that as well. Another thing is that Patty Pat is going to be battling out with Denmark on his new set of softs, and if you start that safety car restart with those new set of softs, you want to get ahead of him as quick as possible, and it looks like Patty Pat's going to go for it here. He's right on the tail end. He's going to switch to the inside last second, and a beautiful overtake there for Patty Pat as he goes into P2 and battles out with Denmark. Denmark now, he's got caught off guard with that overtake, as you can tell. Now his teammate Just Coconut's going on the inside. Both of the McLarens having themselves a good battle as they go up P4. Ooh. Oh, and a little bit of grass there for Denmark. And look at the switchback for Drunk Pirate. Now that is a serious evasive maneuvers, quick reaction times to see the rejoining McLaren as Drunk Pirate now moves up to P4. Now that was... my voice is going! That was insane!
I was going to say as well, the move that Paddy Pat did on P3 there, it was kind of similar movement to the Verstappen and George Russell moments we saw where George was defending from Max. It was kind of a similar lines we saw there, but instead it was Paddy Pat overtaking. So,
wow.
Similar movement we saw then in the race on Sunday.
Now that is
close to Jonesy.
We're having deja vu moments here. Like, we're actually having deja vu. Like, that is absolutely extraordinary. Like I can say this right now. That man right there, Patty Pat and Drunk Pirate, they both have bigger balls than me. Like,
I wouldn't have gone for the move turn 1.
Like, that is insane. Yeah, and Monty's saying, Justin, you need your voice for tomorrow's race. Yeah, I know I do. But this is just insane that my voice just can't handle it. But like that's what I feel like is about to happen. I feel like I'm about to have sound like a grandma that smokes about 5 packs a day when I start talking like this. But honestly,
well, you will be if you carry on.
But honestly, I just can't help myself. It's been such an extraordinary race so far all over the grid.
We still have 10 laps to go. We gotta try and keep our conserve our voices for these last 10 laps, otherwise it will be a silent commentary for the last few laps of this race.
Chaos Druid as well in the chat saying, good job you didn't do tier 1 as well. The thing is, I want to go back to when I was doing tier 1, 2, and 3. Like, I love doing this, and I really missed it when I was on my my quote-unquote vacation. But
vacation, shall we say.
Well, we'll call it a vacation, even though mentally it wasn't a vacation. But from a job perspective, they'll call it as that. But we're now on board with Lucifer Shahid, who is looking right on the tail end of David Boyer. Both of them with DRS. Bevo actually just makes the pass on Natty just ahead. And, oh man, you can see that DRS is so crucial on this track, especially down towards turn 1.
I also agree with battery as well. Conserving that battery is also quite important as well. If you burn that up, you can just get swallowed on the straight, but if you conserve it a little bit, if someone's on DRS on you, you can just use a little bit of that battery midway down the straight and then just turn it off as you enter the braking zone, and you can kind of manage the DRS of the person behind you if you haven't got it. So also battery conservation, I should say, I think is the word.
Yep, conservation.
To try and manage here.
But that's the thing as well with this track. You're pretty much going full throttle for a lot of this track. So that ERS is really going to go down. And you got to kind of choose your moments to when to use that ERS to solidify your overtake. And I think that's going to come down to just both racecraft of the driver, but also just pure strategy that they have in the back seat as well. But one thing that we are seeing, Just Coconuts is actually struggling to catch up with Patty Pat, and Drunk Pirate now with the DRS. He's going to move back up into the podium as he goes into turn 1 with those set of softs, and he's now going to be eyeing down Patty Pat and Jonesy up ahead. Patty and Pirate's Tire is going to be shot by lap 30. I don't think so, actually, Basil. That safety car really did help him out.
I think that they will start to struggle in the last 2 or 3 laps of this race. I do agree, because those softs, they honestly really do shred here. I think the strategy says like lap 6 or 8 is enough on those softs to before they start being a bit treacherous. So I think Patty Pat and the Drunk Pirate might be a bit clenched towards the end of this race if those softs start to feel a bit slippery.
Well, if that's the case, they're going to have to pull an Esteban Ocon at Hungary and defend like a lion at this point. Yeah, they're still doing an exceptional job with the conditions that they're in. But again, guys, if you guys are just queuing in, welcome to Prospects eRacing League, here for PlayStation Tier 2 Division, Round 5 at the Spanish Grand Prix. Commentators, myself, Justin, as well as Chappers coming in as well. And honestly, we have been here for an absolutely amazing race. And if you guys want to see tomorrow's race, where I'll be commentating, as well as Cruz Seamers, who was on the track but unfortunately got himself DNF'd from the race, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you're notified every single time we go live from Mondays to Fridays from PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. Please, please, please hit that button. We're trying to get to around 400 subscribers by the end of the season. That's the goal that I want to set for us, because I think we can definitely achieve it.
It would be great for the league as well, and for the channel, because growth will only get better, and it's nice to see. When I was prior to me coming into the commentary team, you know, it was when I was coming back, seeing a couple of friends do their races, it was great to see every week the subscriber count just increasing. And now being a part of the commentary team, I want to see that growth happen even more. So, and I know it will grow even further. So I'm looking forward to seeing that growth and being a part of it in the commentary team.
Oh, one thing we are seeing now, though, Patty Pat has really felt those set of softs, as he now has the DRS to catch up with Jonesy. Drunk Pirate as well with his DRS to catch up with Just Coconuts. Patty Pat will not be having enough, but we could be seeing Drunk Pirate. Is he going to dive on the inside here? Yes, he can, but he has an AlphaTauri ahead of him, a Pelovsky. Who is that? That's Matty D13. He retired into the pit lane, and the car came back out on the track, and that has really messed up Drunk Pirate's overtaking opportunity there on Just Coconuts. And that is just very, very unfortunate there, as Matty D now pulls off to the side around turn 3. Very unfortunate with the AI in this game, but you can just tell that's going to make Drunk Pirate even more hungry for the overtake, because he had it just on the tip of his fingers. And now he wants to reach even further to fully grasp that overtake and get that position.
He's got to try and nail this last part of this track, as he is on the brink of being out of that DRS zone. He was 0.9 out of it, but he's now managed to bring that down to about 0.7. So I think those softs are still have the pace, but I think in maybe 3 or 4 laps those softs will start to be a bit treacherous, and those mediums will take control.
Well, we're now seeing Patty Pat. Yep, as Equalizer says in the chat, Patty Pat on Jonesy. He's looking on the inside here. Can he get the job done? Yes, he can. Just like Bob the Builder, yes, he can. As he moves up to P1. And Jonesy down to P2. Drunk Pirate is still technically in the podium, as Just Coconuts has the time penalties. And actually, let's see what all of the time penalties are across the field. So everyone that has time penalties are on 3, except for T-Mouse, who has 6 seconds. The people with 3 seconds, actually, both of the McLarens of Just Coconuts and Denmark. We then have AFS Natty with 3 seconds as well. Lucifer Shahid in 11th. Then we have Pigman Man, Pelovsky, and Cavalis near the back of the grid with 3 seconds as well. But you can see all of these drivers, even with these time penalties, they're still giving out battles and they're still putting on the pressure.
They are indeed, and Paddy Pat has managed to bridge a bit of a gap actually now to Jonesy, but not enough to bring him out of the DRS zone. But I think it's enough to prevent Jonesy from overtaking him into turn 1.
It is enough, and you can see Paddy Pat swinging to the right side of the field to break the slipstream, does again onto the left. Plenty of room for him to do that, and you can see the amount of gap that Jonesy closes down was around 8 to 9 tenths coming off of turn 16, and was down to 2 tenths entering turn 1. And that just shows how powerful that DRS is, because here in Barcelona everyone usually has their rear ends on their cars high up to actually compensate for the elevation changes when they're coming into these corners. So having that rear flap wide open, you just gain so much pace.
You do, and he did use a little bit of his battery as well. He came onto that straight with about 30%, and he ended it with about 15. So he did use a bit of battery as well to help him with bridging that gap to Paddy Pat. And he is in the DRS again, but not using his battery. Maybe he'll save that for the middle part of that front straight when he's in that DRS section again. As I don't think Paddy's going to bridge a 0.4 gap in one sector, unless Jonesy makes a huge mistake before that detection zone.
And also, especially at this state of the race, where, as you said, those softs are really going to start to struggle here. And I'm looking at the chat as well. Basil was saying Jonesy shouldn't fight Paddy because his tires are going to fall off soon. And me personally, I would say, well, if you battle out with Paddy Pat and Drunk Pirate once Bevo catches up, you're actually going to make those tires actually work even harder to defend the position. So you actually kind of want to battle out with them so their tires can actually degrade even quicker. But of course, you just have to reach them first for Jonesy, as he's around a few tenths behind, as we were on board with him for a few laps actually. But you can actually see... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off there, but I do feel what Jonesy's doing now is he's bridged his battery back up to about 30%. So what I think he's going to do is he's going to try and absolutely nail this last sector and try and overtake Paddy Pat on the straight here and just bridge that gap, because those softs will start to go off now. I feel at this part now they will start to be a bit more treacherous than those mediums. So I think Jonesy now will try and pounce on Paddy Pat now and try and bridge a gap when those softs start to degrade more than those mediums, because they will be very slippy now, those softs.
Exactly, but I'm actually seeing a huge DRS strain here from Bevo leading the DRS strain to down by Natty, Dylan, David Boyer, and Team Mouse. But we're now going to go back up front with Jonesy. He has the DRS, he has a slipstream, he's squeezed onto the inside by Paddy Pat, but Jonesy already is around a car length ahead, coming down towards turn 1, and Paddy Pat will now have to wave his lead goodbye, as Jonesy is now leading this race.
I pretty much predicted it correct there. He came onto that straight with 40% battery and he ended up with about 18 in the braking zone. So.
Oh, and we have an incident on the track. T-Mouse has lost his front wing. He has crashed out on turn 2 and now falls down to 14th position. We'll have to go back into the pit lane to get a new front wing, and he might actually steal the fastest lap off of Paddy Pat, who currently has a 118.591. And wait, 118.591. He's actually only a few tenths behind Max Verstappen's road record back in 2021 with a 118.149. So we could be seeing the record being broken here virtually.
Good indeed. Oh no! Paddy Pat 3 seconds.
Paddy Pat is hit with 3 seconds, so this could be actually giving Drunk Pirate the opportunity. Of course, he will still need to gain quite a bit of positions well, quite a bit of gap, I should say, to catch up to Patty Pat. But he's already technically in third, so now he actually has an opportunity to battle out for second once he gets the DRS off a Drunk Pirate. Dylan now making his way past Bevo down towards turn one. Bevo tries to defend, looking for the switchback. Look how close he is to the diffuser of Dylan. He's smelling what he had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner by how close he was. But Bevo now down to P6, Dylan up to P5. Drunk Pirate is actually really struggling to keep up. He needs to stay within 3 seconds of Just Coconuts, and that podium position is his, but he's losing a lot of pace here with those old set of softs. He needs to find some sort of life deep in those rubbers to try and keep up, use a lot of that ERS, but he might just miss out on the podium, and that would be sad to see after getting the race win in the race earlier today in a different league that we're in.
I do feel now though, with Paddy Pat getting that 3-second penalty, I do feel now he knows that the driver behind is also on a 3 seconds, and the driver in fourth is on the same set of tyres as him, so he knows that they'll be experiencing similar situations and similar pace. I think he will just settle down now, bring the car home and take a P2, so I do feel that the top four we're seeing now will more than likely be your finishing results for top four.
Well, so far anything can change at this point.
It can.
But yeah, and Equator says Patty's tires are dead, but GG for pushing them all the way until the end. And honestly, I can totally agree with you, man. Like, all of these drivers give it their all with any sort of conditions that they're in. These guys don't complain about. Well, I mean, they would complain to Jeff about a messed up strategy, but as it is the final lap here, we're going to be going on board with Jonesy, who has done everything he needed here today, did the right pit stop strategy from going on those set of tires during the safety car to then lead the race until the end. He's in the final sector here, ladies and gentlemen. Jonesy has pulled something out of the hat as he comes down towards the final few corners. Turn 14, now 15, and 16. He is your race winner here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Jonesy's going to cross the line to take the checker flag and win for PlayStation's Tier 2 Round 5 of Prospects eRacing League. Did an exceptional job. Drunk Pirate crosses the line to just nick the podium position off of Just Coconuts at the dying moments. And honestly, what an absolute race that we have witnessed here, chappers. What an absolute race.
Phenomenal race. That's probably the best race I've commentated on so far in Prospects. Phenomenal racing from all the guys around. Shame about the incident on the start, but it happens unfortunately in racing. But other than that, great racing from everybody, and I can't wait to be back in the commentary box whenever that time may be.
Well, I cannot wait to be here tomorrow for Tier 3. If it's anything like this, we're going to be here for an absolute outstanding race. If you guys do want to queue into that, that'll be tomorrow, same time of 5 p.m. Eastern in the US, 10 p.m. GMT in the UK. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for having me back. It's been a long 2 weeks, and honestly, the community has been awesome, man. Just welcome me back with open arms with my absence. And honestly, you guys have been absolutely extraordinary, and that's just one of the main reasons why I love this community. Prospects, I want to be here until the end, and hopefully that end doesn't come anytime soon. I want to be here for over 10 years. But Jonesy is your race winner here tonight, with Patty Pat getting a P2 and Drunk Pirate on the podium. So an amazing race for these guys in Tier 2. Next week, I'm trying to figure out where we will be next week.
I'll have a little look for us now.
Race count.
It might be Monaco, maybe.
Oh, here we go. I found it. So season 6. So basically, we're gonna be next week at actually Zandvoort in the Netherlands. So it's gonna be the Dutch Grand Prix next week, and that is gonna be a very, very difficult race for all of the drivers out there. But Jonesy comes home with maximum points, the race win, and the fastest lap. He's gonna be ecstatic. But chappers, thank you so much for coming in as well. Really do appreciate you. Again, guys, thank you so much
great
for having me back. Really loved it and missed it. But, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back here tomorrow for round 5 of Tier 3 of PlayStation of the Spanish Grand Prix. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, lots of love and stay safe all. I clicked the wrong button. Where is that button? See, I just still have the jitters. Like, I still messed it up.